So what is going on with Metaphor ReFantazio? This is a brand new action slash turn-based RPG from the creators of Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5, the brain trust over there at Atlus that has been putting out bangers for decades now, and it seems like the media just isn't paying attention to this game when it comes to a potential Game of the Year candidate, at least overall the media with the gamers kind of in conjunction. It seems like the hype for this game is not where it needs to be, considering how much content Atlus has put out on this, what they've done to talk about this game, and people just not really too excited right now. At least that's the impression that I'm getting from what I hear about online, and I have a number of reasons why this is the case. I've talked about it a couple of times, but I wanted to hone in on a few different things and why I feel that will change once the game actually comes out, once reviews actually come out. Things will change for Metaphor ReFantazio, and we're going to break it all down here, plus a bit more. But before we get into that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch, RPG videos, live streams, and more first. And make sure you subscribe because we are giving away a brand new PS5 copy of the Metaphor ReFantazio Collector's Edition. So if you want to win that, make sure you subscribe, comment down below, notifications, all that good stuff. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this because it's so crazy seeing that we have a brand new big RPG developed by Atlus, developed by the people that made one of the greatest RPGs of all time with Persona 4, Persona 5. There's been some awesome stuff. Look at stuff like Shin Megami Tensei 5, Vengeance. You look at all the great stuff that Atlus has done, but it seems like every preview that we get for Metaphor ReFantazio, there's so much good stuff being said. We get things like, I didn't want to stop playing, and oh my gosh, this is incredible. But I think one of the biggest things that's holding this back, there's actually a number of things, is that, or this is like the smaller side, but the name Metaphor ReFantazio doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue, like I've stated before in previous videos if you've been watching. But if you're someone new, I've stated that. It doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue. You can't really remember it. Metaphor ReFantazio, what does that sound like? It's very similar to maybe a little bit like Shin Megami Tensei. You know, that's kind of a name that's like, doesn't really roll off the tongue for people here in the West, but Persona does. It sounds super cool. It sounds sleek. It's simple. Persona does, but Metaphor ReFantazio does not. Now, I'm pretty sure they've got a really good reason why they call it Metaphor ReFantazio, but at the same time, just once again, if you're talking about big turn-based RPGs that have made the transition to being super popular worldwide like Persona is, obviously Metaphor ReFantazio's name doesn't roll off the tongue that way. I think another major issue, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, is that the marketing base for this game is completely out of whack. Microsoft has an Xbox marketing deal. They just have one. So anytime they show it at a big event, anytime that they show it personally, all the trailers on their channel, a lot of this stuff just straight up says Xbox. There's a lot of people out there that I've seen on my own page who feel that this is an Xbox exclusive. So a lot of PlayStation fans, while some do know, many do know, and obviously Persona fans know that, yeah, it's going to be on PlayStation 4, it's going to be on PlayStation 5, it's coming to PC. There's going to be a variety of platforms. A lot of the mainstream attention for this game at shows like Opening Night Live and in other trailers have not been viewed by a lot of the fringe RPG PlayStation fans out there. So I think that the mixed messaging with the marketing deal is causing many people to believe that this is an Xbox exclusive. And listen, guys, I get it. I know people play RPGs on Xbox. I know that's something that's a thing. But out of the major three, out of the big three, RPGs are probably least played on Xbox. Based off of the information and data that we have through MPD, various different sources, when it comes to all the different stuff out there, obviously the Japanese sales, that is the worst selling for a lot of these big RPGs. It is going to be the Xbox platform, and yet Atlus is putting out everything that says Xbox. So even if you look at the official channels, if you look at the official Xbox channel, the views are just simply not there. Whereas if you go to Nintendo or PlayStation and you see some of the RPG stuff, it's going to have way higher views. So the interest from the audience, which we've talked about before. When I talked about an article saying that Atlas doesn't want you to know, I think it was Push Square. Yeah, Atlas doesn't want you to know that Metaphor ReFantazio is coming to PlayStation. I think this is part of the reason why. Big Sony PlayStation site, and they're pretty much saying it there. And that's very clear that marketing wise, a lot of PlayStation fans are not being fed this game as like, hey, this is a game that you can play. Yes, there are some that know, but it's just not enough at this point. So if you look at it, when it comes to current market leaders, the game's not on the Nintendo Switch. That has 143 million units plus. So that's a big thing. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But then also the actual like big, but when it comes to the newest systems, you're not really pushing it to the biggest audience. Which next would be PlayStation 5. It's not being pushed there. It's being pushed to an audience with around 30 million, and with many of those people not being interested at all in RPGs like this. Now, in a previous video, I talked about this. A number of the big Xbox content creators that I follow have not made any tweets, have not made any videos, have not made anything on this game, which I did show that, which I'll have it for you guys here. But if people are wondering why there is not this hype for this game, this is part of the reason why. I think content creation is big for hype. I know myself, because Xenoblade, I create a lot of cool hype, and getting people to play that game, I've had thousands upon thousands of people, even with the channel my size, tell me, yo, OJ, I really appreciate how you got me into Xenoblade. And if you don't have the biggest content creators in that space that like that system, when it's being marketed directly to them, not make content on there, that is a major problem for the game overall. Now, we don't know about pre-orders right now, but it looks like maybe even pre-orders might be a little bit lower than expected overall. If you look at some of the different trackers out there, this game is not on Game Pass either. It's something that the Xbox fans are going to actually have to fork out the money to buy if they're going to do it. So I'm not expecting really too much on there, but here's where it's going to turn around. There's a couple different things that are happening. One of them is a rumor. One of them is absolutely going to happen, at least in my opinion. I think that this game is going to get incredible reviews. I think that once the reviews drop, it is going to be a word of mouth game, very much like the Persona games in the past were before Persona 5. It's like, oh wow, this game reviewed really well. People don't really know about it too much, but then people start talking about it, and then that's when it spreads, and that's when it does a bit better. When they hit their first million, and then, oh, wait a minute, we sold 2 million, 3 million. I think Persona 3, 4, and 5 were a slow build up to that. I think that Metaphor ReFantazio, if it gets fantastic reviews, which I do think it'll get at least an 88 or above, then I think that's going to really help with people understanding what this game is and people checking out the game, even if it has to be a little bit later on discount. Persona makes a lot of its sales on discount as well. So I do feel that Metaphor ReFantazio, if it does come up with those awesome reviews, we will see people talking about it. There will be a lot of buzz, even if the reviews aren't as high as I think they will be. I think the game will have enough unique qualities to it that make it different and make it special to where gamers will kind of attach onto it as time goes on. It doesn't really look and play like any other RPG that we've gotten before. There's a lot of elements from different RPGs here and there, but it's a unique blend of a lot of different games, and I feel that it's going to be very successful, once again, with word of mouth. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Now, I do think that there's another play that's going to make this game do even better, but it's a future thing. I think that Nintendo Switch 2, that's going to be something that's going to help out this game when it drops on there. I've had a number of people tell me they're just going to wait. They wait to play Atlas games anyway, like Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5. They played all of those years down the line. They're going to do that for this game as well. So if that's going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 port, I think that's going to bring on a big base of people. You also have to factor in the hybrid portable nature of the Nintendo Switch that really lends itself to 100-hour RPGs like this. So there are going to be a significant number of people in my analysis that I feel will check out this game once it does come to Nintendo Switch 2. Hypothetically speaking, if it did hit Switch 1, I think that the prospects and the talk about this game would be a lot higher amongst the fans and community, but obviously I don't know how the game would actually look and perform. But let's just say they were actually able to make a really good version of the game on Switch. I think that the hype would have been definitely higher amongst Nintendo fans and amongst RPG players that like to have that aspect of on the go in addition to on your TV. It's almost like getting both versions in one, like a portable version and a home console version, whereas in the past we had to pay for both of those. So that's what I think with Metaphor ReFantazio so far. There are a number of factors that are working against it, but I do feel that things will change once those reviews start coming out. The game is out on October 11th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC, Xbox Series S and X. So I do feel that reviews should come in that week or a bit before it. I know that reviewers already have the game. They've been playing it. And what I've been hearing from that is that it's absolutely awesome. More attention will be brought on it once these reviews really start coming out and people start realizing, okay, this is going to be pretty good as well. Now we are going to turn to another topic here, Capcom, and what's happening with Dino Crisis and Devil May Cry. Now there was a lot of uproar about Capcom and what they're doing with some of the different remasters and new games. Stuff like Primo Exile, which is already shut down or already shutting down or something like that. They have a red-haired lady that looks like the Dino Crisis lady. Yeah, she's not actually in the game. Oh, wait a minute. That's not a Dino Crisis game. That's just something else that they tried to get people to buy. Live service nonsense. So now Capcom is back at it again, asking fans what they want when it comes to remakes and remasters. And Dino Crisis and Devil May Cry, surprise, 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 lead the way. The whole list of remasters and remakes was Dino Crisis, Lost Planet, Devil May Cry, Power Stone, Resident Evil, Onimusha, Darkstalkers, Okami. Look at the quality of the IPs there. A lot of these games are Game of the Year quality or actual winners at the time before we had the Game Awards. Stuff like Okami, for example. Obviously, Devil May Cry was incredible. Power Stone, that's coming back in the Capcom Fighting Collection Part 2 that they have. Resident Evil is Resident Evil. We already know that they're going to remake some of these games, so we know about that. But Dino Crisis would be number one for me. Dino Crisis for sure. Devil May Cry, we can play on the current system, so it makes sense. I mean, the graphics look pretty good, but if they wanted to remake some of them, whatever on that one. But for me, it would absolutely be Dino Crisis and Onimusha. Those are the two franchises that they absolutely need to bring back. Both of those would be fantastic. They're very good, incredible franchises that absolutely need to be brought back. So Capcom, if you are listening to this video, which I think that they might be, please check out Dino Crisis. There's really no other need, especially if you're doing Dead Rising, which is already on HD platforms and looks decent enough for the most part because you've already kind of re-released it a couple times now. Please look into Dino Crisis, look into Onimusha, look into Okami, look into these games, even like more like a new Okami. Okami Den from the Nintendo DS, that still needs to come over. But we already have the Okami HD, which looks pretty good. It would be nice to have that in 60 frames if you could actually get it in 60, but apparently they could not. So if they want to do a new Okami game, that'd be pretty cool. Remaster Okami Den, that'd be cool as well. But I think that for me, if I had to pick two, it'd be Dino Crisis and Onimusha. Those two games need to come back. So hopefully we see that upcoming here pretty soon. So let's get into the next topic, guys, and the last one, and that's going to be the Wonderful 101. Platinum Games finally has an IP of their own. They have gotten full ownership of the Wonderful 101 trademark from Nintendo. Now, they are seeking their own intellectual properties, and obviously Hideki Kamiya is no longer at Platinum Games, but they still have at least this. We'll see what happens. I have my own ideas for what Platinum Games is going to be working on, which I'll talk about in just a bit. But yes, they've got it now. You can see Nintendo of America. I'm posting this whole thing for you guys proposed. And yeah, Platinum Games, they're going to own the Wonderful 101. Now, obviously, this is not a massive seller. There was a weird thing with the whole Kickstarter and all of that. But I'm guessing that they actually made some money off of the Wonderful 101 remastered, and of course that Kickstarter as well, funding the development and the publication of the game on the PlayStation 4. So it makes sense they'd want to own something like this, and maybe they could do something pretty cool for a sequel. I don't think a sequel would break the bank. I think they can take what they have and just innovate on top of that and put it out as a AA type of game. I don't think that you need some type of massive budget for this, and if they want to do the Wonderful 101 2 or the Wonderful 101 Part 2 on the Nintendo Switch 2, I think that would be a great place to start for this type of thing. But there needs to be some gameplay tweaks in order to make it a little bit more marketable and a little bit better for the mass consumption. So I'm not sure what those would be. I do like the Wonderful 101 a lot. I think it's a fantastic game with a lot of depth, but they would definitely have to do a few different things in order to tweak it just a bit. I think people necessarily didn't love the whole little characters running around and forming into something. Maybe they can kind of refine that to where the combat is a bit different. but I do feel that there is potential in this IP considering how fast they were able to fund that Kickstarter even on the PlayStation system. So I do feel that there's some potential, but they have to go back to the drawing board and make some tweaks in order for it to be a franchise that could actually sell a good amount of copies. Now, where I think Platinum Games is going to go to, which I'm going to make a video about this separately as well, Astral Chain 2. That's something that I think that they're going to be working on if they're not already working on that, based on what Tuda-san had to say about the sales and them being surprised about how good that they were, that it exceeded expectations, on top of, I would say, that the game being highly rated as well. I think that Nintendo loves the fact that they have this type of different style of game that they don't necessarily make, that Platinum Games can do, and I think that that would be a big game for the Nintendo Switch 2, considering where Platinum Games had Astral Chain 1, the story, the combat, and everything. There's so much more they can do, so I think that there's potential for that franchise to not only just do great, but also become even bigger than what it was. So I absolutely feel that Astral Chain is going to be a part of what they're going to be doing next. So I think that would be pretty good. Obviously, you'll have powerful hardware or more powerful hardware to work with, so you can get Astral Chain to look and run even better. So I can absolutely see them doing Astral Chain 1 and Astral Chain 2 on the Nintendo Switch 2, in addition to doing a Bayonetta collection. They've done it before. They did Bayonetta 1 and 2 on the Wii U. They did Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 on the Nintendo Switch. So I absolutely see them doing Bayonetta collection, where they put those together, 1080p, 60 frames per second, all on the Nintendo Switch 2, and maybe even have Bayonetta Origins thrown in there as well for the Bayonetta Complete collection. I think that would be a really good thing to do on the Nintendo Switch 2, on top of having a tease or something else that they're going to talk about when it comes to Bayonetta 4 as well. So what do you guys think about everything that we talked about here from Platinum Games, Capcom, and of course Metaphor ReFantazio? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.